I was blamed for a family secret. Until the truth came out years later, I never planned to tell this story. For years, I tried to bury it. I convinced myself that silence was safer than truth. Carrying the blame was easier than reopening old wounds. There comes a moment in life when the past refuses to stay quiet, and when the truth finally comes out, it doesn't whisper, crashes into everything you thought you understood. This is the story of how I became the family villain for a secret that was never mine, and how, years later, the truth changed everything. I grew up in what looked like a normal family from the outside. We had birthdays, holidays, family photos on the wall. We smiled in public. We laughed at dinner tables. But inside our house, there was something else. Something unspoken, something heavy. I didn't know what it was at first. I only knew I could feel it. There were conversations that stopped when I entered the room. Glances exchanged when I asked innocent questions. Tension that appeared out of nowhere and disappeared just as fast as a child. You don't understand these things. You just learn to adapt. You learn when to speak and when to stay quiet. You learn which topics are safe and which ones make the air feel thicker. You learn to read faces better than words. And without realizing it, I became very good at that. Everything changed the year I turned 17. That was the year the secret cracked open. It started with something small. At least it seemed small at the time. A letter arrived in the mail. No return address. Just my father's name written in a shaky hand. I remember watching him open it, his face drained of color. His hands trembled. And for a split second, I saw fear in his eyes, real fear. He folded the letter quickly and slipped it into his pocket, like it might burn him if he held it too long. When I asked what it was, he smiled, a forced smile, the kind adults use when they don't want to explain. Nothing, he said, just old business. But nothing about him felt normal. After that. Over the next few weeks, everything felt off. My parents whispered late at night. My mother cried behind closed doors. My father became distant, angry, unpredictable. And somehow, without understanding how, the tension started pointing toward me. It was subtle at first. Questions that felt like accusations, looks that lingered a little too long, comments wrapped in concern but sharp. Underneath, where were you last night? Who have you been talking to? Is there something you want to tell us? I didn't know what they meant. I still don't know how they convinced themselves it was me. But once doubt enters a family, it spreads fast. And came the night everything broke. I was called into the living room. Both my parents sat on the couch, rigid, serious. I remember the sound of the clock ticking on the wall. Loud, relentless. My father spoke first. We know, he said. Those two words froze my blood. Know what? I asked. He looked at my mother. She looked away. You've been hiding something, he continued. And it's time you told the truth. My heart pounded so hard I could hear it in my ears. I searched my mind, desperately trying to understand what they were accusing me of. Drugs? Trouble at school? Something illegal? I don't know what you're talking about, I said. That's when my mother started crying. And suddenly, I wasn't just confused. I was terrified. They accused me of destroying the family. Those were the words. They said I had brought shame into our home, that my actions could ruin everything, that I had betrayed their trust, but they never said exactly what I had done. It was like standing trial for a crime you weren't allowed to hear. I denied it. Over and over. I begged them to explain. To tell me what they thought I had done. But instead of answers, I got disappointment. Anger. Silence. And that silence hurt more than any accusation. Over the following months, the blame settled on me like a stain that wouldn't wash away. Family members started treating me differently. Aunts who used to hug me tightly now kept their distance. Uncles stopped making eye contact. Cousins whispered. I heard fragments of conversations. Half sentences. My name followed by silence when I entered a room. No one confronted me directly. They didn't need to. Verdict had already been reached. What hurt the most wasn't the punishment. It was the isolation. I felt alone in a house full of people, invisible. When I needed to be seen, judged without a voice, I tried everything. I stayed out of trouble. I brought home good grades. I followed every rule. But once a family decides who you are, facts stop mattering. I became the reminder of something they didn't want to face. So they turned me into the problem. By the time I left home, the distance between us felt permanent. I moved out with nothing but a bag and a heavy heart. No goodbye party. No words of encouragement. Just silence. And maybe, deep down, they were relieved to see me go. Years passed. Life moved on. At least on the surface, I built a life far from my family. New city. New job. New people who didn't know my past. But the weight followed me. Every time I doubted myself. Every time I felt unworthy. Every time I felt like I didn't belong. That blame became part of my identity. When enough people believe something about you, you start to believe it too. I tried to reach out a few times. Calls that went unanswered. Messages left on read. Short replies filled with distance. Eventually, I stopped trying. Some wounds don't heal by reopening them. Or so I thought. Then, one ordinary afternoon, everything changed. I received a call one never expected. It was my cousin. We hadn't spoken in years. Her voice was shaking. Can we talk? She asked. I think you deserve to know the truth. That sentence cracked something open inside me. And what she told me next would change everything I thought I knew about my family. But the truth had been buried for a reason. And once it started coming out, there was no stopping it. I was blamed for a family secret. Until the truth came out years later when my cousin said those words. I think you deserve to know the truth. Didn't answer right away. Not because I didn't want to hear it, but because a part of me was terrified of what the truth might be. For years, I had built a fragile peace around the idea that maybe I really was the problem. That maybe there was something wrong with me. I couldn't see. And when someone offers you the truth after years of silence, it threatens everything you've learned to survive. Still, I said yes. We met a few days later, in a quiet cafe far from where our family usually gathered. Neutral ground, safe ground. She arrived before me, sitting near the window, nervously stirring her coffee, even though she wasn't drinking it. The moment I sat down, she looked at me with an expression I had never seen before. Guilt. I don't know where to start, she said. Start anywhere, I replied. She took a deep breath, then another, like she was preparing to dive underwater. The night everything changed. The night you were blamed, she began. It wasn't about you. My chest tightened. I know that sounds obvious now, she continued, but back then, everyone needed someone to carry the weight. And you were the easiest choice. I felt a strange mix of relief and anger rise inside me. Why me? I end up asking. She looked down at the table. Because you asked. Questions, she said softly, because you didn't fit perfectly into the image they wanted to protect. She told me that long before I was accused of anything. There had been a secret buried deep inside the family. A secret so damaging that exposing it would shatter reputations, relationships, and carefully constructed lies. It involved money, power, and betrayal. Years before I was even old enough to understand. My father and his brother had been involved in something illegal, not small, not accidental. They had manipulated documents, hidden assets, taken advantage of someone vulnerable, and when things started unraveling, panic set in. The letter my father received wasn't random, it was a warning. Someone knew. Someone was threatening to expose everything, and instead of facing it, the family did what it had always done best. They closed ranks. They protected themselves. They searched for a scapegoat. What about me? I asked. How did I end up in the middle of this? My cousin hesitated. You overheard something, she said. I stared at her. What? You didn't even realize it, she continued. One night, years ago, you walked into a room where you weren't supposed to be. You heard a conversation between your father and my father. You didn't understand it fully, but you remembered pieces. Suddenly, fragments of memory surfaced. Late night voices, hushed tones, words like accounts, risk, exposure. At the time, it meant nothing to me, but to them, it meant everything. They became afraid of you, my cousin said, not because you did anything wrong, but because you were a witness they couldn't control. When the letter arrived years later, fear turned into paranoia. They convinced themselves that you had talked, that you were the reason. Someone was closing in, and instead of investigating the truth, they chose the narrative that protected them best. I sat there, stunned. Years of shame, years of isolation, years of believing I was broken, all because they were scared, all because they refused to take responsibility. Why didn't anyone stop it? I asked. My cousin's eyes filled with tears. Some of us tried, she whispered, but the ones with power spoke louder. She explained how family meetings happened without me. How stories were twisted. How my silence was interpreted as guilt. And how, once the lie took hold, no one wanted to be the first to admit they were wrong, because admitting that meant admitting everything else. After that meeting, I didn't sleep for days. My mind replayed every memory from a new angle, every accusation, every cold look, every moment I blamed myself. Now I saw fear behind their eyes, self-preservation disguised as morality. And the realization was devastating. I wanted to confront them immediately. To storm into the past and demand answers. But something stopped me. The truth was still incomplete. And if I was going to face them, I needed all of it. Over the next few weeks, more pieces fell into place. My cousin introduced me to someone I never expected to hear from again. My uncle's former business partner. A man who had been quietly destroyed by the same secret that ruined my reputation. He told me everything. About the forged signatures, the hidden transfers, the threats, and how, when he tried to expose the truth years ago, he was silenced. Paid off, threatened, pushed out. The letter my father received was just one of many attempts to reopen the case, attempts that kept being buried. They used you, he said bluntly, whether they realize it or not. And hearing it from an outsider made it undeniable. I began to understand something deeper. This wasn't just about a secret. It was about a family built on appearances, on control, on never letting cracks show. And when something threatened that illusion, they sacrificed whoever was closest to the fault line. As the truth spread quietly through extended family members, reactions were mixed. Some were shocked, some were defensive, some refused to believe it. But one thing changed. The silence around my name shifted. I was no longer the villain. I was the reminder of a lie. Months later, I received an invitation, a family gathering. The first one in years. No apology, no explanation, just an invitation. I knew what it meant. They knew I knew. And now, they wanted to control how the truth was handled. Walking into that house again felt surreal. The same walls, the same furniture, the same air thick with unspoken tension. But I wasn't the same person. This time, I carried something they couldn't take away. Clarity. My father looked older. So did my mother. They avoided my eyes at first. Small talk filled the room. Awkward laughter. Pretending nothing was wrong. Until I spoke. I know. I said. The room went silent. Every face turned toward me. I know what really happened. I continued, and I'm done carrying something that was never mine. What followed wasn't an explosion. It was worse. Denial. Deflection. Justification. They explained how they were trying to protect the family. How it was complicated. How they had no choice. But for the first time, I didn't argue. I didn't defend myself. I simply told the truth, and the truth doesn't need to shout. Some apologized. Quietly. Awkwardly. Others never did. And that was another lesson. Not everyone wants redemption. Some people just want silence back. When I left that night, I knew something important had shifted. Not just for them. For me. The weight I had carried for years finally lifted. I realized something powerful. Being blamed didn't define me. Surviving it did. But the story didn't end there. Because the truth has a way of resurfacing when it's ignored too long. And years later, when consequences finally arrived, they weren't prepared. I was blamed for a family secret. Until the truth came out years later after that night. Nothing went back to normal. Not for me, not for them, and not for the family. That had spent decades pretending silence was the same thing as peace. When I walked out of that house, I felt lighter than I had in years. But I also felt something else. Something unexpected. Distance. The truth didn't bring everyone closer. It created a line that could never be erased. On one side were the people willing to face what had happened. On the other were those who would rather lose me than lose their version of the past. And I finally understood that healing doesn't always look like reunion. Sometimes it looks like separation. In the months that followed, the consequences began quietly. At first, it was subtle. A phone call not returned, a business partner suddenly reconsidering a deal, a longtime friend asking uncomfortable questions. The past, once buried, had started to breathe again. And once it does that, it doesn't stop. I heard about it through fragments, a conversation overheard, a message forwarded by accident, a relative who suddenly wanted to talk things through. What they didn't realize was that I was no longer waiting for validation. I wasn't desperate for apologies. I had already reclaimed something far more important. My self-respect. Then came the investigation. Not dramatic. Not announced. Just official enough to matter. Someone had reopened an old file. Someone had connected dots that had been ignored for years. And once that door opened, everything rushed out. The forged documents, the missing funds. The shell accounts. All the things they had convinced themselves were safely buried. My father called me one night. His voice sounded unfamiliar. smaller. I didn't think it would come back like this, he said. I didn't respond right away, because for the first time, I wasn't responsible for managing his emotions. I warned you, I said calmly, years ago, when you blamed me, when you chose silence. There was a long pause on the other end. I thought I was protecting everyone. He said. No, I replied. You were protecting yourself. That truth hurt him more than any accusation ever could. The legal consequences unfolded. Slowly. No dramatic arrests. No courtroom scenes. Just reputations quietly collapsing. Positions lost. Partnerships dissolved. Doors closing without explanation. The same system that once protected them now distanced itself. And suddenly, the family name they had guarded so fiercely became something people avoided. Some relatives reached out again. Not to apologize. Not to ask for help. Advice. Connections. Support. They remembered I had rebuilt my life independently. They remembered I was resilient. What they didn't understand was that resilience doesn't mean obligation. I can't. I told them, not out of spite, out of clarity. Helping them now would mean returning to the role they assigned me long ago. The fixer. The absorber. The one who carries what others refuse to face. I was done being that person. As the truth continued to surface, stories changed. People who once avoided me now spoke differently. They said things like, I always felt something was off. I never really believed it was your fault. I wish I had said something. Those words used to haunt me. Now, they just sounded late. What surprised me most wasn't their reaction. It was mine. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't even bitter. I felt free. Free from the need to explain myself. Free from the weight of defending a lie I didn't create. Free from waiting for people to finally see me. I began sharing my story, cautiously, at first. Not publicly. Just honestly. With friends. With colleagues. With people who knew nothing about my family. And every time I spoke, something powerful happened. People recognized themselves in my experience. They told me their own stories. Not about being blamed. Not about carrying secrets that weren't theirs. About surviving families that valued appearances over truth. I realized something profound. My silence. I protected others. My voice could protect many more. One evening, years after everything began, I received a message from someone I never expected. My mother. She asked if we could meet. Just the two of us. No family. No history. Sitting at the table. I agreed. She looked tired. Older than I remembered. But there was something else in her eyes. Regret. I should have protected you, she said. And for the first time, I believed her. She didn't justify. She didn't deflect. She simply admitted what she had failed to do. That mattered. Not enough to fix everything, but enough to close something that had been open for too long. We talked for hours about fear. About pressure. About how easy it is to lose yourself when you're trying to keep a family intact at all costs. And I understood her, but I didn't excuse her. Both things can exist at the same time. When we said goodbye, she hugged me longer than usual. Not to keep me, but to release me. And that was enough. Today, my life looks nothing like it did back then. The shame I once carried feels distant, almost foreign. Not because it never existed, but because it no longer belongs to me. I built something solid from the ground up. A life rooted in honesty. In boundaries. In the understanding that being blamed doesn't mean being broken. If there's one thing this journey taught me, it's this. Families don't always hurt you because they hate you. Sometimes they hurt you because they're afraid. Afraid of exposure. Afraid of consequences. Afraid of losing control. And fear, when left unchecked, turns people into strangers. The truth didn't destroy my family. It revealed it. And while some relationships didn't survive that revelation, I did. Stronger. Clearer. Whole. If you're listening to this and you feel like you've been carrying something that was never yours, hear this. You don't owe your silence to anyone. You don't owe your pain to protect someone else's comfort. And you don't need permission to tell the truth. Because one day, whether you speak or not, the truth finds its way out. And when it does, the only question that matters is this: will you still be standing on your own side?